Thank you all for coming tonight. Many of you I know and a lot of you I don't know, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come celebrate with us our last trip, but also to learn about some of the projects we're involved with in Nepal. And I want to thank Mal and Lauren. Lauren can't hear me, but please tell her. For putting on this event. Usually I don't start talking, about the next trip for next year until like January, February, but they were so enthusiastic, and Rebecca also, they were so enthusiastic about the trip, and I'm going to tell you how Lauren did a great job telling you about the trip. So I'm going to tell you about how I got involved in some of the projects. One of the thof are Barry and Audrey in the room? Yes, okay. There are many people who have been involved. One of the most rewarding things for me on doing these trips is that once people go and they learn about Nepal and they get to know the people there on a deeper level than most tourists get to know, they stay involved. And many people, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but many people in this room have already contributed to some of our projects and have stayed involved. And Barry and Audrey I will embarrass because they've come twice. They loved it so much. And one of the first years, one of the things we did for Dadigan Village School, which was first sponsored by a couple in Australia, and they have a foundation. We collected laptops, and ever since then, Barry has taken the laptops, he cleans them and configures them for Nepal. We carry them over, and each of us carries one over in our suitcases, and he has stayed in touch with them by Skype and has been their IT person across the miles, which is incredible. And Audrey is an accountant, and she helps with the accounting because we keep track of the money and all that, and that's one project. And Lauren mentioned when I did the crowd rise last year, I managed to raise, somebody just sent me another $500 check, so it was actually $3,000, and I am not a fundraiser. I never dreamed when I took my first trek in Nepal in 2000. I thought, this is really an amazing place, and it was transformative for me. I never dreamed I would be here today talking to you and raising money for any of the programs that I've been involved with, let alone I've been back to the Himalaya 9 times or so. I've been to Bhutan, I've been to Tibet, and I've trekked a lot in Nepal. And after I became a certified life coach, I decided that it would be really cool to take groups over and see them being transformed. And that has been one of the most that is the most rewarding thing that has happened for me. And when Lauren gave a beautiful introduction, she told me, she said, I am not good at public speaking, I can't do this, and she did a beautiful job. And I just want to say Mal and Lauren were incredibly generous with themselves, and Lauren had everybody dancing everywhere all the time. No, it was great. It was terrific. It just added so much to the trip, and then their enthusiasm and interest to give me, us and all our projects, this event right when we come back is a real gift, and I really appreciate it. And it's lovely to have Lauren's parents here too. I was telling them about Lauren and all how generous she was. All right, back to the crowd rise. I raised $3,000, and I don't know, we don't have pictures of the music, right?
There are some on the slide.
Okay, so tell me if one comes up and I can talk to it. But what we were able to do with $3,000, it just, a little bit of money goes a long way in Nepal. We raised a music teacher to teach for a year. He's coming every Saturday morning. We bought approximately 12 sangaris, which are these kinds of violins type of instrument they play there, and 4 drums. And that's just amazing. And then I had extra money, and it's actually $52 per child from the orphanage to have their school fees paid. We paid, actually, with this other new donation, we paid for 42 kids to have their school fees paid this year, which is it's amazing. So it's $52 a year, and we spend that on a movie and a dinner, right? I don't even think about it. Yes?
How many children are in the orphanage? And who runs it?
Okay, that's a good question. And what happened was, that gets me back to the school. The principal, Dorje, he's Nepalese and he's a visionary. And when he started the school, he only had 25 children in the school. And he thought that he had an extra building that could be used as an orphanage, and he knew Ramesh, and Gita is his wife, and he found them and he offered them the building, and he suggested they could start an orphanage. And one of the years we were there, actually last year and this year, we finished interviewing each of the children, because there weren't even any records on the children. I mean, nobody had a piece of paper with their name, date of birth, how they got there, what happened to their parents. So we did that last year and this year. And the principal it's like attached to the school, so that's how it's kind of being run. And then just recently, in the first year I took a group, we went to visit, but we didn't do anything there because they had just opened. And then we've worked there the last 3 years, so it's a project that's unfolding. They don't have a private nonprofit or anything associated yet. So Gita and Ramesh run it. And the kids go to the school, and this is why the school fees were so important this year, is that the first year Dorje started the school, he only had 25 children, and there were 45 children in the village that went to private school. Now, only 5 children go to private school, and all the kids that used to go to the private schools are going to the public school, plus they have more orphans. And Ramesh also and Dorje agreed that originally the orphans wouldn't have to pay their school fees. They could come for free, but now they need money. So it was sort of serendipitous that I happened to get all this money this year, and it was incredibly rewarding. And then to see like Lauren dancing with all the kids, and she did a workout thing, and she was just terrific, and Mal had his ideas, which I don't know if you feel like talking a little bit about what you thought of, because I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, so I like to take photos, so I thought it'd be a good idea for the kids to learn a little bit about that. So we had our iPad, and so I gave each of the kids the camera and had them take photos of one of the children from different angles and different sides. So that for each of the kids, they would have 7 or 8 photos of each of them with the idea of putting them together. So it was, and they took straight to it, and they were unbelievable. They were just running around and doing their thing. It was great. And
that's really important, because one of the things that happens in Nepal is the way they teach is very rote, and the children are not encouraged to be creative and think outside the box. And this was a perfect exercise. And you want to share what you did, Rebecca? Rebecca came, and she's a teacher, and she had a good idea also.
Well, so I'm also a social worker, so I always trained to sort of find out where the kids were at. And so I was unprepared to know what to do. And so I just asked them to show me what they knew. And it was amazing, the games they play with rocks. Just the way I was really into jacks when I was a kid. They play jacks with rocks, but you don't get to let it bounce first. I mean, it's really fast. They're amazing. There's no way I could compete. They make balls out of little leaves, and they play, like we call them hockey socks, whatever. They have hand games. They were so delighted just to show me what they knew. And what was so fascinating for me, because I've had my whole career in working with kids, was how universal some of the things that they were doing were, but with nothing. I mean, with rocks, with leaves. They literally create a little ball out of leaves. They play games with rocks, the hand games, and they were just delightful, and so excited to show me what they knew. So that's kind of what I did. I let them show me.
And one of the other women who came with me was a teacher in PG County for 30 years, so she's really been through the trenches. And she said to me, after the year she volunteered, she said, "Sydney, these kids have nothing, but they're so happy." And that's the thing, is there's so much love and caring in the culture that we don't really experience that much here in our culture. That's part of why it's transformative when people go there. And do you want to share again, Rebecca, about the talk with Ohm, our guide?
Yeah. One more thing, because I am a social worker, is I was really trying to figure out why do all these people who have lives so much harder than we do? You know, I've been around a lot of poverty in this country, and it really does terrible things to people. And we have a lot of violence that happens and mental health problems as a result of poverty. And their people are living very much in poverty, but I'm not feeling this, you know, there's not the mental health thing. These people seem happy. They seem kind of well integrated. And I was watching very carefully, and what I noticed was the way they treat their children. You know, the children are always held. The children are a joy. The children are very, very attended to and celebrated. And even at the orphanage, there isn't this harsh kind of way of socializing people. That's one thing I noticed. I had a conversation, it might have been Lauren, I can't remember if it was Lauren or Gwen, was talking to our guide, and I think it was you. Isn't there a trail that doesn't go so up and down? I didn't have a vision.
Oh, where's the other girl?
And
Taxi around here.
I'll get you.
And Ohm said, and he paused, and this is how he was listening very carefully. And he was taking it very seriously, even though I'm not, you know, and he said, I have to understand if your question is about body or spirit or soul. It matters to some degree. So I feel like what I encountered was something I've worked on in my own life, which is this integration of these different domains where, you know, I have a spiritual practice that I use to kind of help me integrate. But day to day in those moments, these people are kind of living in this integrated realm that kind of pushed a new awareness for me. It's not like you use your spiritual realm to go to when you're having a hard time. It's just part of a multi-dimensional in the moment. And so his question to me, to what I heard him say, you know, is this body, is this mind, is it soul? And then he said, because sometimes your body or your soul says one thing, but the spirit needs another thing, and you have to really think carefully. And I felt like that is what I felt being there, that there's this sense that these things can be integrated. And it is not, poverty doesn't necessarily have to mean poverty of spirit.
Yes.
How long do the kids stay there?
Until they're 18.
And then they go out on the street?
Well, we hope not. Some of them do have relatives, but we're hoping that through our programs are going to be able to teach them some skills that they can have jobs and that kind of thing. We're just really getting started.
Another observation is that they are all the same kids.
Excuse me?
They're all Nepalese.
Yes, they're all Nepalese. They're all Nepalese. They're all from the same country. And when Rebecca was talking about her experience in the culture, that's why I love to go back every year. I love to go back, and it's really been wonderful. And one of the first year I was there, we were staying at Steve's lodge in the foothills, and I met this woman who just finished a wilderness trek, and she had heard about me because I had broken my arm on the Mustang trek, and there's this sort of legend about this woman who did this whole hard trek with a broken arm, but I wasn't going to come home because of a broken arm. And she started telling me that she had a contact in the States who used to work in the human trafficking NGOs on the front lines, who had come back, and she was forming an umbrella group of all the different groups working on it in Nepal. And she gave me her contact, but I didn't follow up on that contact right away. But then 2 years ago in Maryland, they were offering trainings for social workers in human trafficking, gender violence, groups, policy, a lot of training. And after that, I wrote to her and said, last year I would like to meet some people that she knew, and she wrote back to me, and that did open a door for me. Last year I took the group to Ashes for Beauty, and people bought jewelry and all these beautiful things, and we didn't have time this year. But I had 2 laptops, thanks to Barry. Audrey helps move them around. I didn't even ask for the laptops this year, but people just sort of give them to me, and then I call Barry and I say, you know, and I ask Audrey, do you think he would mind one more? And he's been very gracious about it. We had 2, and I gave one to one of the villages we had visited last year that Barry had put all the pictures on from the trip and also done a Shutterfly book. But the other one was going to one of the human trafficking groups, and that's New Hope Ministries. And Drew, I met Drew in 2013, and he rode his motorcycle out to the hotel I was staying in before my group came. And I got all his information, and he was 8 years old when he left his family. His father had abandoned him, and he knew that if he didn't run away to Kathmandu and get a job, that he and his mother were not going to make it. And he educated himself. He lived with a family that I think took pretty good care of him. And then some very close relatives of his got AIDS, and 60 to 70% of the people who are trafficked get AIDS. And they come back to Nepal, and in that culture, they're untouchables. They basically have no life if they live at all. And he started a hospice for them. And I went to in 2013, Brenda came from Ashes for Beauty to get me. We rode in a cab to her apartment. We did whatever. I gave her a computer. And then I got on the back of her motorcycle. I've never been on a motorcycle before. My father would have killed me if he was still alive. In Kathmandu traffic, and one of the things about Kathmandu traffic is, besides the traffic, there are no street names. I mean, it's really quite an experience. Or lights.
Or there's hardly a street.
and I rode on the back of her motorcycle to a corner where Drew met me, and I got on the back of his motorcycle feeling like I was going to die, and we went to the hospice. So let's see, oh, here we are. Okay, let me focus on so this is the flyer that he sent me for this event, and let's see what the next picture is, because I think we have hospice ones, right?
There you go. Oh, that's okay.
Okay, Drew sent me these are pictures of some of the children, and what happens is the moms who have AIDS go to the hospice, and has a very good success rate, he says, because of the organic food and the cleanliness and the love and caring that they get. Plus they have an arrangement with Kathmandu Hospital where they get very inexpensive medication. And the children, he and his wife take care of all the children. So these are some of the children. Okay, we can.
Do they have AIDS, or they just?
No, I don't think the children, but I'm not quite sure. I honestly don't know. I don't think the children do. I think their parents do. But this is Drew in front of the house where they live, and they rent this house. Okay, and then we could do the next one.
We'll get there eventually.
Okay, and this is a picture I took of them with the kids. So this is the mother, and where's Drew? And Drew's beside her. And so he just said, what are we going to do with the kids? They take the kids, and they keep them because the kids would have no place else to go. They would get trafficked. And when we were at Dwarka's, which gets me back to the group, he came to pick up his computer, and he was talking to me about the money he had raised, $5,000, like Lauren said, to put a deposit on the land where he wants to buy and set up facilities, plus raise coffee, so then they'll be self-sustaining. And, okay, we could do another one, I think.
And if he buys the land, the Swiss Foundation's going to cover it.
Oh, I forgot that part, so tell them. I forgot that part.
I was there when Drew came. If he can buy the land, there's a Swiss Foundation that if he can get the land, they will supply everything else to get the business started. They'll supply the coffee, the agricultural equipment, the fertilizer, the consultation. They just don't give money, but they'll support everything to help him get this started. So he's pretty much got it lined up.
Right. If you can picture being in this fancy hotel at Dwarka's, which we all love, and we love every second we're there. And then he was talking to me about the progress, and I said, well, if you have he was in a big rush, 10 minutes he had. And I called Lauren, I called my sister, I called my cousin, I asked Mal to take a picture of us, and Rebecca, and they came, and because I have other things I'm working on, I couldn't take on this project to do the fundraising, but here I am. And my cousin quietly says, from North Carolina, she says, oh, I'll sell the bracelets. And then Rebecca and Lauren are like, oh, we'll have an event. And so that's why we're all here. We're having an event. And I'm so glad you all came. It's a great crowd. The day I visited them, they made me lunch, and this is the kitchen, and these are 3 of the young women who lived there and worked there.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. You know, it's surprisingly nice. And this is a picture of the hospice, one of the rooms in the hospice. And Drew is, we could go to the next one. Drew is very, in this picture, I left this picture up because this is one of the women who has AIDS. And I, you know, typical insensitive Westerner, he told me I could take pictures, and I took a picture, and he was actually saying, please don't take a picture. And he's very protective of the girls, and the pictures, he doesn't do fundraising in his part of the world because they would be trafficked, they would be taken. And okay, we can go to the next one, I think.
Do they have access to like they don't have access to the AIDS or HIV medicines that this country does?
Yes, they do, because they're through the hospital.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Through the hospital. That's right. There's a good. And this is the plans they've devised. And I'm actually not sure which buildings are which, but I remember he told me that they want to have the families that are still together to live in some of the houses. They want to have a school. They want to have one clinic for the AIDS, and then they want to have a home where the children and other people can live, but all on one property. And then in the back is where the coffee would be. And his hope is to export it. And my sister lives in Austin, Texas, and just to give you the idea of the connection she has, her husband's father started Texas Instruments, and she was so taken with all this. She's also selling bracelets, but then she said she knows the woman who works at Whole Foods who goes out around the world looking for projects like this. So she's working on that end. And I was really blown away, particularly this trip, about how responsive people like, you know, Rebecca and Lauren and Mal were to being exposed to this, and also Barry and Audrey have stayed in touch and in contact, and other people give scholarships and give money, you know, for school supplies, and it's actually more than I even imagined. Just like standing here is more than I thought I'd ever do. Okay, yes.
Sydney, I have a question.
Yes.
You said you go back every year.
Every year.
How long do you stay when you go there?
Well, it depends on how much I can do. Last year I did 2 trips, and I was there a month. This year I was there 3 weeks. Next year I'm planning 2 trips, and I met with another human trafficking group, and which I had met with in 2013 also. And I think I'm going to be able to do a workshop for them, because one of the things that I've learned from talking to a lot of people is the staff usually is trafficked also, and they get a job being on staff, and they have no idea about how to take care of themselves, like stress management, that kind of thing. And in that meeting, you know, one of the younger women who really, really wants us to come was talking about when she hears all these stories, you know, she just hears these stories, and then she goes home and she feels like she can't attend to her own family. So I hope next year to be able to do a 2-day workshop on self-care and helping them sort of start to manage that. And I'd actually like to do a series, but I'm putting it back, you know, it's after I finish the treks. I'll stay longer. So maybe I'll get 5 weeks next year. I hope. Is there any other questions? I think I covered everything. I don't think.
Just a few more.
Oh yeah. Thank you. There. This is. Okay. This is the room where they keep all the products that they make, and they're. I was impressed with the bracelets this year because he gave me the silver one with the cotton on it last year, but he sent me this year, and this is the little girl that made the bracelet. And he sent me that. So they're really making a big effort on their fundraising, and they have made a lot of progress, which is something that really I was impressed with. And then this is just another one they did to show her. She's the one who designed it, you know, which is just great. You know, it's just great.
I think that's it. So.
Okay, good. Good. Well, thank you very much for listening, and I'm happy to, thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions. You know, there's a lot to talk about. And I think one of the most transformative things is that when people come back, they realize, you know, how much we have, how much we really don't need, that we think we need, and they get involved in projects like this. And it makes a huge difference in the world, as our world is getting more interconnected because of the internet. And our children coming up will really appreciate that those of us who do this kind of thing did it, because as you know, there's a great need in the world today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything else?
I was just going to pick the raffle.
Oh, the raffle. Oh my gosh, the raffle.
Does anyone want to come pick it? No, you want to come pick it?
I'll pick it. Okay. And, okay, number 26. Yay! She takes belly dance classes with us. That's great.
This is typical Nepalese material. Yeah, that's very wow, that's gorgeous.
I emailed it to Sydney, but I didn't know we could post it up there.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming. You're welcome to stay and finish off what's left. And
Thank you, Laura.
have anything, Mary? Thank you. I know it's a busy time of year for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, sweetie. Excellent. Thank you. Well, you've been.